Yeah. Good afternoon, students. How are you all doing? Very good afternoon, everyone. Uh, so we were discussing in the previous session on input tax credit, right? So I see that a lot of students have taken active participation and discussed on the topic. So today we'll continue with section 17. Right. So I hope you have recollected and kind of done a revision of section 16, what we have discussed. And I got feedback from few students that the session was little fast. So we can actually recapitulate on what are the pointers on section 16 so that people who didn't understand can get it. Uh, as usual, students, if you have any question, please feel free to ask. So Chauhan Tej Prakash has a question. He's asking, sir, please clarify who will file GSTR 3B, supplier or recipient? The answer is very clear. The supplier and recipient both will file, but the conditions, one of the conditions under the return is if the supplier files it, then the receiver gets the credit. And if the receiver files the return, only then the credit accumulates in his account. So both are important. Both are really important. Soumya, is the voice better now? Please explain 16.2BA. Sure. We'll go to section 16.2BA. This we understood. Then 16.2B. 16.2B says that you should have actually received the goods. So in case of bill to ship to transactions also, it is deemed that you have received. Now 16.2BA, which says that details of ITC in respect of the supply are not restricted under section 38, which means it should not be under the restricted category. Okay. So it should not be under the restricted category. What is restricted category is basically, Soumya, it says that if you purchase any goods or services from these following category of peoples, this 6 category of peoples, then your credit will be restricted, which means that it will appear in your GSTR 2B, but you cannot claim the credit because these people are under the category of restricted category, which means if you're buying from a person who is a new registrant, who is newly registered under GST, right? Now the government does not have high visibility in terms of whether he's a regular taxpayer, he's paying the taxes correctly or no, right? So that's why the government is saying if you buy anything from a new registrant, a person who's newly registered and you're buying from him, then you will not get the credit. Second is who has defaulted in payment of tax. So he's clearly not a new registered, he's an old registered person, but he has defaulted in payment of tax for a prescribed period. So the period will be prescribed by the government. They will say, okay, if you have been a defaulter for say 6 months, then if you buy anything from him, you will not get the credit. Or whose output tax payable, the supplier. This is all from the perspective of the supplier. If your supplier is one of these fellows, then if you buy from such supplier, your credit will be blocked. Third is whose output tax payable as per GSTR1 exceeds the output tax payable in 3B. He has disclosed more number of sales and he's paid less taxes in GSTR 3B. Then that is the third category of goods. And the reverse is the fourth, who has claimed the credit in excess of the amount what is there in GSTR 2B. And the fifth category is 86B. We'll read 86B at the end. So who has violated the rule 86B from such person if you're born, even then your credit will be restricted. And the sixth category is one which the government has a power to specify that they've been given apart from these 5 categories people. If there's any 6th category which they find, then that credit also will be restricted. So that is what is saying Rule 86B, that on which these category of people you cannot claim the credit. Okay. So this is what we understood, and then we have all this five categories, five conditions under section 16. 6 also we understood that avail, reverse, and re-avail, and reversal of ITC in case of non-payment. So if you do not make the payment to the supplier, right, a registered person can claim ITC in this 3B based on the GSTR1, correct? Now, if the supplier does not furnish the 3B for the tax period till the 30th September, right, government is saying that, okay, supplier, you have filed your details in GSTR1. There are two different returns under GST. One is GSTR1, another one is GSTR3B. The supplier has filed the details in GSTR1, but he's not filed it in GSTR3B. So what will happen? The actual taxes to the government is accumulated, or they can get the revenue from the taxpayer when you file the GSTR 3B. So your supplier has filed the one. Based on that, you have claimed the credit. Okay, but that is sufficient? No, because one of the conditions says that the tax on that supply has to be paid to the government. Now, if the supplier pays to the taxes to the government, only that the government can give you the credit, right? So in this case, the supplier has not paid the taxes to the government. He's only filed as GSTR1. So he has to file the 3B. Only then you get it. Only then the government gets the revenue. So the government is saying if he's filed the one, all the other conditions are satisfied. But the supplier at least should file the 3B by the September after the end of the financial year. So if you're saying for 24-25, government is saying that you should file the returns monthly, but if the supplier has forgotten or missed to file the returns on a monthly basis, at least by the 30th September, he should have filed. That is the condition which is specified in the sixth condition. If he's not filed the returns, then you reverse your credit. Because supplier has not filed the returns, how can the government give you the credit? So let him file the returns. If he's not filed, reverse the credit. After you've followed up with the vendor, he has filed the return. Government is saying, okay, fine. Once he's filed it, you can re-avail the credit later. Fine. Why is a recipient not reversing till? Why 2 months? See, by September, you will get to know. Okay. And if you want to reverse in September, fine. But September's returns is getting filed in October. By the time you get to know, it will become October return. You would have filed. So practically, when you file the October's return, that is when you have to reverse it. That's why they have said, see if the person has filed the return up till the 30th September. If he's filed up till the 30th September, you will get to know the September return, which is filed in October. Yeah. Right. So that will be only October you will get to know. And you, by the time you take your decision, that will be October's return, which is filed in November. That's the reason there is a gap of 2 months. Would there be any interest? Yes, there will be interest if you have claimed the credit and utilized it. Okay. What is claiming and utilized? Just taking the credit and offsetting that with the output tax. That is called availing there are two terms. One is claiming and availing. You have just claimed it, but you have not availed, no interest. If you have claimed it and not availed it, then no interest. So it's only there in your electronic credit ledger, but you have not utilized it for payment of your output tax. Okay, that is called as non-claiming of the. It's called claiming of the credit, not availing. So you have only claimed it, and it's only lying as a balance. You have not utilized it for your any payment, then no interest. Second scenario is when you have claimed it and utilized it, then you will have to pay the interest. So please explain fifth condition, exception, third point. This one, re-availment. Okay, so re-availment says that once you have availed the credit, you have reversed it. And then once the supplier has filed the return, say it is filed late after September, whenever he filed it, whatever you have reversed, you can reclaim it. Okay. That is on the fifth condition. Then the sixth condition says that filing of the return by the person. So till now, there was a question by some student was saying that who should file the 3B. So till fifth condition, it was supplier who should file the return. Then you can claim the credit. Now, sixth condition says that you have to file the return, that is the receiver. The sixth condition, it says the receiver has to file the return for him to claim the credit. Why? Because how will the government know that you should get the credit? You will get the credit through this mechanism of filing the return. If you file your return only, then the amount gets credited to your credit ledger. So the sixth condition says that you have to file the return. Only then you can get the credit. Till this point of time, it was to claim in your 2B, the supplier has to file it. And to claim it in your 3B, you have to file it. Here it is supplier. This is also supplier's liability. This is also supplier's liability. And to file 3B, it is the receiver's liability. Here, so these were the six conditions to claim the credit, which is there in section 16. GSTR 1 and 2B supplier and GSTR 3B receiver. Perfect. Perfect. So only receiver file 3B? No, sir. No, Chauhan Tej. Supplier भी file करना पड़ेगा. Supplier has to file. तभी वो condition 5 fulfill करेगा. वरना condition 5 fulfill नहीं होगा ना. Sure. We'll take an example here. So understand the example. We'll go to the study material, page number 8.24. Understand the point from the study material itself. Good, that is on goods received on lot. 8.24. This is the example. Let's say that XYZ enters into a contract. Okay, XYZ is a company which entered into a contract with ABC for supply of 10 metric ton of a chemical for 1,18,000 rupees, which is inclusive of tax of 18,000 rupees. Now, the value of the goods is 1 lakh and tax on that is 18%, which is 18,000 in the month of August. The chemical is to be delivered in lots over a period of 3 months. ABC raises the invoice for the entire amount in August, and XYZ also makes a payment in the same month. But the supply is completed in November. Okay, so invoice is raised in August, but that is only for the advance. He raises the invoice and he made the payment, but the supply is completed in November. So when can he claim the credit? Can he claim it in August? No. Though XYZ has made the payment, it can take the ITC only on receipt of the last lot, because the third condition was ITC is available only on receipt of the last lot. That's why even though he has paid it in August, supplier has raised it in August, he can claim the credit only in November. Okay. The availment of reversed ITC. There is no question, Ms. Priya, on page number 8.24. Okay, you're talking about Jamku. Okay, we take this example as well. Jamku is a registered supplier. He supplies goods to Chamku. Wow. So already GST law is very confusing. And in these examples, Jamku and Champu, it will be even more confusing. Fine. No problem. You have to get prepared for this because in your exams also, they will try and find out some names which will be so very weird. And you don't have to get too very involved in it because the facts are important, neither the name. So they will only try to confuse you. You have to be alert till that. So Jamco is a registered supplier who supplies goods to Jamco valuing 10,000 rupees, on which he charged CGST and SGST of 900 rupees each. So what do you mean by this? Did you understand the question till here? Yeah, you have understood till here, right? Jamco is a registered supplier. He supplies goods to Chamco for value of 10,000 rupees, on which he's charging CGST of 900 rupees and SGST of 900 rupees, right? 9% CGST, SGST, perfect. In the month of March. Now, Chamco has uploaded the details of the said invoice in GSTR1 for the said month, which is filed before the due date. He's filed the GSTR1 and he's filed the GSTR1 will appear in the GSTR2B of Chamco, correct? Chamco is the supplier, Chamco is the receiver. If the J Chamco has supplied his and he has reported in his GSTR1, the receiver C Chamco can claim the credit. So for the said one, he has filed the return before the due date, based on which Chamco has availed the said ITC of 900 each. Okay, when has he availed? He's availed in the same month of March. Okay, as the said ITC was reflected in his 2B. How will it reflect in the 2B? As we had said, if the supplier files the GSTR1, it will appear GSTR2B of the receiver, so he's got it. Fine. However, Jamku failed to furnish the corresponding GSTR3. So see, there are two returns, GSTR1, basis which you get the details in 2B and you can claim the credit. Now, after filing GSTR1, the due date is 11th, and GSTR3B, the due date is 20th. For the March, he has to file the return by the 20th of April. Now, he's not filed it. He's not filed it for March, but has he filed it for April? No, he's not filed even for April. Jamco failed to furnish the corresponding GSTR treaty for the month of March up to September. मार्च में तो सो ही रहा था, अप्रैल में भी सो रहा था, मई, जून, जुलाई, अगस्त, सितंबर. 6 months he has not filed the returns at all. Okay. Accordingly, what will happen? Accordingly, while filing GSTR 3B for the month of October, which is on 20th November, Chamku has reversed the amount of ITC. So now you understand the distinction or the time by September and November is given. Before November 30th, what returns Chamku files, in that return, he has to reverse the credit. So that's what he has done it. That by September returns, Chamku has not filed it. In the October return, Chamku will reverse the credit. Subsequently, he will reverse the credit, but will Chamku keep quiet? भैया मैंने तो आपको पूरा टैक्स का पैसा दिया था, मेरा टैक्स का रुपया कहाँ आ गया? He will question Jamco. So subsequently, Jamco files this return for the March on 20th December. And he pays the said amount. So payment कहाँ से जाता है? Payment GSTR 3B में ही जाता है. GSTR 1 में कुछ भी payment नहीं जाता है. It's only an information report. He only gives the information of the sales what he's made. Fine. So then subsequently, Jamco pays the said amount of rupees 900 while filing his March return in 20th. So Jamco can now re-avail the credit क्योंकि इसने reverse कर दिया था. Okay. Chamku can now re-avail. Here there's a mistake. It should not be Chamku. It should be Chamku. Because who's claiming the credit? Chamku is claiming credit. He has reversed it, so he can claim it. So the examiner or the person who's prepared also has got confused. It should have been Chamku here. Chamku can now re-avail the said input tax credit of 900 towards CGST and SGST, which he has reversed earlier. Got it? Using a diagram. Perfect. Perfect. Good, Tanush. We'll take this example itself because we know the facts of this case. So it's right, I think. No, madam, because it says Jamku can reavail. Credit can be reclaimed only by Jamku. So it is Jamku itself. The sentence says, and he pays the said amount of 900 each towards the CGST and SGST. So here it should be Jamku and not Jampu. Okay. Uh, yeah, for the benefit of Dhanush and for others also, we will explain this with a diagram. So this is Jampu. Okay. He is, how much is the tax he's paying? 900 plus 900. Okay. The way is he disclosing this? He's disclosing this in March returns. Which returns? There are two returns. He's filing this only in GSTR 1. Okay. So what happens by this? This is outward GST. Fine. This is the outward GST of Jamku, which he is showing in his GSTR 1. अगर GSTR 1 में आ गया है, so immediately it will get transferred in the GSTR 2B of whose it will appear in GSTR 2B of Jamku. Okay. Once it appears in GSTR 2B of Jamku, what will Jamku do? He will claim it in his GSTR 3B. क्योंकि credit आ गया ना 2B में, the condition up till condition number 4 was that it should appear in my 2B. So that is appearing. So he has claimed the credit of whose, this is again Jamku's GSTR 3B. लेकिन Jamku has not filed the 3B return as yet. So what should Jamku do? We should wait till September. Is it filed till September? Not filed. Jampu has not filed the returns. Okay. So what he should do in the October's return? October returns. What is the due date for October return? 20th of November. He has to reverse the IPC. This 900 and 900, what he's claimed here, this has to get reversed. So if you see the values here, it will be 900 plus 900. He's claimed it. And here it will come minus of the negative value of 900 plus 9. So credit जो लिया उसको reverse कर दिया. Now Jampu got angry and he went to Jampu and saying that I made the payment to you. I made 10,000 plus 1,800. I paid you 11,800. Give me my 1,800. He said, no, I will not give you. He said, okay, file your returns. So then he wakes up and Jampu says, okay, in December, I have filed the 3B. In December, he's filed the 3B. So once he files the 3B, then it will appear that yes, he has filed the 3B and he will, Jampu will re-avail the credit. Of gain, how much? Same value, 900 plus. Yep. चंपू को ही रिटर्न मिलेगा सर जिसने रिटर्न फाइल किया है करेक्ट फाइन इज दिस क्लियर like GSTR 1, GSTR 2B is not about reporting info. Whatever is reported in GSTR 1 by the supplier will appear in your screen as the credit. That credit will appear in a screen or a statement which is called as GSTR 2B. Yes, so in January, ITC will be reviewed. Correct. In which month Jampu will be made? So if he's filed in December, if can see it in his December that he has filed it, but it will not be showing in December. It will be appearing in the January itself. He will get to know about the December filing only after he filed it. So he can claim it in the January month's return. ठीक है रोहित, आपको समझ में आ गया? जंपो ने रिटर्न फाइल नहीं किया था, लेकिन उसने GSTR 1 फाइल किया था। उस बेसिस पे चंपू ने क्रेडिट ले लिया है। फिर उसको पता चला कि उसने सितंबर तक तो रिटर्न ही फाइल नहीं किया है। बंदे ने पैसा ले लिया लेकिन रिटर्न फाइल नहीं किया है, तो उसको अगले महीने के रिटर्न में रिवर्स करना पड़ेगा। फिर चंपू जब जमकू के पास जाता है कि आपने रिटर्न फाइल नहीं किया, तब वो दिसंबर में रिटर्न फाइल करता है और जनवरी में क्रेडिट रिक्लेम कर देते हैं। समझ में आया आपको? He will not get to know on 20th October. Yeah, probably the returns, how to get to know whether the supplier has filed a 3B will be available in the GSTR 2B. And GSTR 2B is available or gets updated every 13th. So he will get to know only on the 13th of next month. September's return, he is filed or no, he'll get to know on the 20th, on the 13th of October. GSTR to be 14th. Yeah, 14th of October, right. Here with 13th of due date, by 14th we'll get to know. Correct. Correct, Priya madam. You're right. Last date of our filing GSTR 1, 2B and 3B. Yeah. So the due date of filing GSTR 1, this may be दो date. One is for a monthly taxpayer and one is for a quarterly taxpayer. For a monthly taxpayer, it is on the 11th, and for a quarterly taxpayer, it is on the 13th. GSTR 2B फाइल नहीं करना है, सिर्फ डाउनलोड करना है, सिर्फ देखना है उसको। उसको आप 14 से 20 तक देख सकते हैं। एंड GSTR 3B का ड्यू डेट है 20। Here with this example, can we go back to our presentation then? After 14th to 20th, we cannot see 2B. We can see it, but वो पुराना information ही रहेगा, वो updated नहीं रहेगा. If we want the updated thing, क्योंकि हर महीने returns file करते हैं, so after 14th to 20th, from 14th to 20th, it will be the same GSTR 2B, which we will up see what is there on the 14th, वही रहेगा. Any time limit for 3B? Yes, Mummy this said there will be return for 3B by the 20th, and for quarterly return filers, it will be on the 22nd. payment for invoice with 30 days, third exception. Yes, I will go through that. This we are done. क्वार्टरली बाय विच डेट? क्वार्टरली फाइलर्स के लिए बाय 22nd और 24th. सो स्टेट में सेपरेट किया गया, फ्यू स्टेट 22nd, फ्यू स्टेट 24th. या 180 days एक्सेप्शन जाते हैं. The next condition is 180 days payment. That the apart from this conditions, there are provisions which gives you two more conditions saying that all the payments should be made to the supplier within 180 days. The payment, whatever you purchase, you need to make the payment to the supplier within 180 days. That is the second provision. Now, in this, there are some exceptions. One is reverse charge mechanism. When you have reverse charge mechanism, then you are paying the tax and you yourself are claiming it. So for that 180 days criteria will not apply. Second is deemed supplies, wherein so you are making a supply without consideration, right? तो उसमें तो आप consideration पे ही नहीं कर रहे हो, तो फिर consideration का condition नहीं आएगा. Third is when the addition is made to supplier's liability, which is being incurred by the recipient. In valuation, we have read that when the receiver incurs something on behalf of the supplier, right, that has to get added to the value of the supply. But the payment of it is already made by the receiver. So then why should you include it again for the criteria of payment, right? That's why the third criteria is any addition which is made to the supplier's liability, which is incurred by the recipient, that will not get added. Clear? हम रिटर्न्स चैप्टर जब जाएंगे चौहान, तब हम आपको बताएंगे कि आपको रिमेंबर करना है या नहीं करना है. विल गो टू द रिटर्न्स चैप्टर ना, तब आपको बताएंगे. ठीक है. सो क्लियर, परफेक्ट. तो नेक्स्ट जाते हैं. वी आर स्टिल स्टक विद सेक्शन 16. Next is ITC on capital goods. So can we claim credit from capital goods? Yes. But how can we claim on both the things? That you know that on income tax, in income tax, you have on the capital goods which you are capitalizing, you can claim depreciation, which means that is also benefit given to you. Depreciation is a benefit, right? Because it's a expenditure which is reducing your income tax liability, right? So you will get depreciation benefit and GST benefit both? No, you'll get only one benefit. That's why it says where a registered person has claimed depreciation on the tax component of the cost of the assets. You have purchased a asset, a laptop, which is worth 1 lakh rupees, right? And the supplier has charged you GST of 18,000 rupees. So 1 lakh 18,000 है. तो आपको GST किसके ऊपर लेना है और depreciation क्या वैल्यू पे लेना है? Capital goods 1 lakh, GST 18,000, total bill value is 1 lakh 18,000. So depreciation on what value and ITC on what value? It's GST on 1 lakh rupees. GST on 1 lakh rupees. अरे बाप रे, पूरा 1 लाख का आप 1 GST ले लोगे. Depreciation you made, right? Depreciation 1 lakh and ITC on 18,000. Correct. So depreciation 1 lakh, ITC 18,000. That is what major is the answer. Rajiv Ray Singh, ITC on 1 lakh 18,000. अरे बाप रे, पूरा 1 लाख 18,000 पे आप क्रेडिट लोगे. आपने टैक्स तो पे किया सिर्फ 18,000, लेकिन आप बोल रहे हो कि आप क्रेडिट पूरा 1,18,000 ले लो, depreciation on 1,18,000. Right. So there are two options which you have. You can claim depreciation on full 1,18,000 rupees. अगर आप full 1,18,000 के ऊपर depreciation claim करते हो, so then you don't claim the GST credit. Okay, because that benefit is given to you by the income tax. So you don't claim anything under the income tax under the GSTI. But if you're claiming depreciation on only 1 lakh rupees, right, then then you will get the benefit of GST input tax credit on 18,000 rupees. Okay. So that is what this provision is saying, that if you have claimed depreciation on the tax component, right, and then input tax credit on the said component shall not be allowed. So if you're claiming on 1,18,000 depreciation, you don't claim ITC on that 18,000 rupees. But if you have not claimed depreciation on 1,18,000, you have claimed depreciation on only 1 lakh, then 18,000 is the GST credit which is available to you. Clear? How much credit allowed? पूरा 18,000 allowed है. Even though asset you will use it for a period of 5 years, आपको full credit first पे purchase पे ही मिल जाएगा. But if you do not utilize it, then you have to reverse it. वो कब कितना utilize, कितना reverse करना है, that we will discuss. Time limit to claim the credit. So a registered person, can he claim the credit any time? कि आपने purchase किया है, क्या आपको credit 2 साल बाद claim कर सकते हो आप? Yeah, is there any time limit? There is a time limit. A registered person shall not be entitled to take input tax credit in respect of any invoice or debit note for supply of goods or services or both after the 30th November following the end of the financial year to which the invoice or debit note pertains, or the date of furnishing the annual return, whichever is early. Right? कि आपका सप्लायर ने एक इनवॉइस दिया है, आप उसको कब तक क्लेम कर सकते हैं? One is availing and second is utilizing. So I said there is no time limit कि आपके पास credit आ गया है, then there is no time limit. But to get the credit, you have a time limit. That is called availing of the credit. Once you avail it, okay, then you can utilize at any point of time. But to avail the credit, you have a time limit. Got it? आपके पास purchase invoice है. Can you forget it off and claim it after 2 years? No. You can claim it up to the maximum duration of 30th November following the end of the financial year to which the debit note pertains. If the date of the invoice is 1st January 2025, you can claim it up till the 30th November 2025. That is November following the end of the financial year. The end of the financial year for the January 2025 invoice is what? March. And 30th November following the end of the financial year is 30th November 2025. So you can claim the credit only up till 30th November 2025. Got it? Because financial year is 24-25, 30th November 25 is the last date of the credit, correct? 30th November 25 for all invoices dated 24-25. Perfect. और द डेट ऑफ फर्निशिंग एनुअल रिटर्न। सपोज आपकी एनुअल रिटर्न 24-25 का 30 जून को ही फाइल कर दिया है, राइट? इफ यू फाइल द रिटर्न बाय द 30 जून itself, अर्जेंट में कर दिया आपने, वेरी वेरी एक्साइटेड एंड यू फाइल्ड इट। जनरली लोग फाइल 30 दिसंबर पे करते हैं बिकॉज द ड्यू डेट इज 30 दिसंबर, बट यू हैव आउट ऑफ क्यूरियोसिटी और फाइल्ड इट ऑन जून। तो फिर आपका क्रेडिट भी जो भी मिस आउट हो गया 24-25 में, आप 30 जून तक ही फाइल कर सकते। यू कैनॉट फाइल, यू कैनॉट क्लेम इट बाय द 30th of November. So don't file your annual return before the due date. November के बाद you file it anytime so that you will not get impacted, but you file it by the anytime before November, then your time limit to avail the input tax credit will get curtailed. Okay. What are the cases of missing out in case the supplier has not filed the returns? If the supplier has not filed the returns, you avail it. Then you reverse it by September. Because once you re-avail it, once you reverse it, there is no time limit to re-avail it. आप कभी भी re-avail कर सकते हैं. But supplier has supplied the invoice, he's given you the invoice, he's filed his GSTR1, he's done the 3B. You have missed to account it, or you have first instance could be you have missed to account it. Accountant ने invoice कुर्सी के अंदर डाल दिया और या ड्रॉ के अंदर डाल दिया, अकाउंट करना था, अकाउंट नहीं किया, उसके ऊपर दूसरे पेपर्स आ गए, भूल गए। ओके। सेकेंड इज ही अकाउंटेड बट जीएसटी रिटर्न्स में क्लेम करना भूल गए, then also you cannot claim. So whatever mistakes your accountants do, your systems do, then all such credits you should claim it by the 30th of November. उसके बाद आप claim नहीं कर सकते. Any extension available to 30th November? No. There is no extension available except COVID में. Not even in COVID they gave this extension. Prior to COVID, only in 17-18 in the first year they extended till the March because that was the first year. But none of the subsequent years, even in COVID, they have not extended. So extension will not be available beyond 30th November. Okay. So that is the second condition on one claiming the credit, availing the credit. Question on debit note. Okay. Sir, annual return has to be filed after 30th November. Annual return, Somya ji, the due date is 30th, 31st December. So the due date to claim to file your annual return is 31st December. Okay, so let's take up the question. Superstar Limited delivered a machine to Little Star Limited in January 2029 under invoice number 640 dated 28th January 2029. Okay. एक invoice raise करके supply किया है. Value of the machine was 10 lakh rupees plus GST at 18%. And undertook trial runs and calibration of the machines as per the requirements of Little Superstar Limited. The amount chargeable for the post-delivery activities was covered in a debit note. So there was a debit note which was raised because post-delivery charges, they have done some trial runs and all, right? So after raising the invoice, they have charged it. The amount which was chargeable for the post-delivery activities was covered through a debit note which is raised in April 2019 for the value of 1 lakh rupees plus GST at 18%. So the company has filed its annual return for the financial year 18-19 on the 10th of November. Now determine the time limit for taking the ITC for the amount of tax covered in debit note as well as the original invoice. क्या करेंगे हम इसको छिपा देंगे. ये क्या होगा, आंसर भी आपको मिल जाएगा, क्वेश्चन भी मिल जाएगा. तो आपको क्वेश्चन से खुश होना हो. You should be happy with the questions. More the questions, good for you. You can run your brain and find the answers. So in case of this question, what is the time limit for taking the ITC for the amount of tax and debit note? So Ishan is seeing 30th November or 10th November, whichever is earlier. Okay, तो आप आंसर ऐसे लिखोगे? नहीं ना? Okay, you're only discussing the three. Fine. Debit note is next financial year. Debit note, right, is clean by 10th November. Okay. So what is your final answer? 3 for invoice, till which date can you claim it? One lakh 80,000, that is on the invoice by the 10th of November. Correct. So 1819 is the date of invoice. So for 1819 up till the 10th of November 2019, and for the debit note, which is a debit note related to that invoice, but independent debit note will become independent. So debit note is dated April 19, which he can claim it till 30th November 2020. You were earlier writing 13th November 20. No, no, please be careful. Clear? Are you able to distinguish, make out the dates and distinguish between invoice and debit notes? Perfect. GST portal view. Okay, just to give you a portal view, I've taken some screenshots and I'm sharing with you. How do you file the one? How do you file the 3B? This will be very interesting. So in the portal, you have an option of filing GSTR 1, GSTR 3B, GSTR 2B, which is viewable, and GSTR 2A also, which is the view only option. So when you go to the portal, click on GSTR 1. Once you click on GSTR 1, you have an option to view or to download. In this case, it is file. Otherwise, you get an option of filing also. So when you go inside the GSTR 1, you have multiple columns, right? You have GSTR 1 details which will appear, and then you have details to add records. So you will add within GSTR 1 also multiple columns are there. If it is normal invoices, B2C invoices, export invoices, B2C invoices, all of that will appear. Now, in this case, I've already filed export invoices, so that is what is appearing. Okay. Next is GSTR 2P. So this is not any filing or something. If you see here, there is filing option. And in 3B also, there's a preparing option. In 2B, you don't have to prepare or file anything. That's why it's only view and download. So when you go to your GSTR 2B, you will find all the details of the input tax credit which is available. This many input tax credit taxes is available to you. So this is the credit which is available to you in your GSTR 2B. Like we had discussed in the previous session, the fully whatever is appearing in 2B, it's not yours. ठीक है, चॉकलेट पड़ा है तो पूरा चॉकलेट आपका ही नहीं है. You like chocolate, but only for the amount what you pay. To that extent, you are entitled to. Got it? वैसे GSTR 2B जो भी पड़ा आप ले लीजिए, ऐसा नहीं. From the GSTR 2B, you have to see how much you have accounted, how much is your credit, and that claim it. GSTR 2B, if you see further, drill down that same thing. It will give you classification saying from where all you have got the credit. Is it from invoice, debit note? Is there any other documents? All the details will be available. When you click that further, you will get to invoice level wise, party level wise, who has given you the credit. कि आपको चाहिए कि आपके purchases है और इसमें कम है. So where is the difference? You have to do a reconciliation with each party wise details. Okay. So each party wise, you have to see the details, see the taxes, right? Then you have to option to see all of those things and file your monthly returns in your GSTR 3B. Okay. In your 3B, you have option of prepare online, and prepare offline. Either you can do offline and upload it or prepare it on the portal itself. In 3B, you have options of tax, what is payable on outward and reverse charge basis, supply which is notified under section 95, any interstate supplies, any eligible input tax credit, any exempt, nil rated and non-GST inward supplies, and any interest which is payable. So this is the details of your 3B. So इसमें है आपका outward and eligible, and the payment part comes in GSTR 3B. Once you file your returns, see your credits, whatever credit you have filed in your GSTR 3B, that will come in. So your credits doesn't come from 2B directly over here. From 2B, whatever you accept and disclose in your 3B, that will come here. Okay. And for once you make the payment against your credit, that will get debited. So bank account की तरह credit debit चलते रहता है यहाँ पे. Clear? So that is all on section 16. Can we now proceed to section 17? Apportionment of credit and block credit. Okay, apportionment of credit, section 17, which says that input tax, if you are using for business, either for wholly taxable supplies or for zero rated supplies, everything is claimable. But if you are claiming for non-taxable supplies or for exempt supplies, including supplies which is under reverse charge mechanism, and for non-business purposes, these three buckets are not claimable. You cannot claim the credit which is for non-taxable supply, which is for exempt supply, and for non-business supply, it is not claimable. Clear? And very important, zero rated supplies, we know zero rated supplies means any export supplies and supplies to SEZ are forming part of zero rated supplies. Fine. Now, what is block credit? Block credit means credits which are not available even if it is used for business. So main section under section 17, which describes what is block credit, is section 17.5. It says that, boss, these are the credits which all the conditions of section 16 you're satisfying. You're using it for your business. It is appearing in your 2B. Uh-huh. Create the payment within 180 days. All that is fine, but still credit will not be available because they are called as block credit. इन चीजों के ऊपर आपको credit नहीं मिलेगा. And all other credits are available, which is used for business. So whatever credit, what are listing is happening in section 75, they are block credit. इसके ऊपर आपको credit नहीं मिलेगा. The first of those block credit is any credit which is on purchase of vehicles, planes, and ships, everything. So what all credits you don't get? You don't get credit of vehicles, planes, and ships. What is the point? No ITC on any purchase, general insurance, repair, or leasing of bond of motor vehicles, carrying passengers having less than or equal to 13 seats, having capacity, having what? Having seating capacity less than or equal to 13 seats, and all aircrafts are vessels. So three things are restricted in the first part in the block credit: vehicles, aircrafts, and vessels. Okay. Any motor vehicles, all kinds of motor vehicles, all aircrafts and vessels. Vessels मतलब क्या? बर्तन. वेजल्स को तो हम बर्तन बोलते हैं ना. तो बर्तन के ऊपर क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा, क्या ये बोल रहा है ये? This provision saying that on vessels and utensils you will not get the credit. No, vessels means ships, correct? So vessels here in this context means any ships. So any ships you will not get the credit. Large port, perfect. So on बर्तन के ऊपर आपको क्रेडिट मिलेगा if it is a business use, right? घर के लाए हुआ बर्तन के उसके ऊपर तो आपको क्रेडिट मिलेगा ही नहीं, because any personal use के ऊपर आपको क्रेडिट नहीं मिलता है, and it is not business, so क्रेडिट मिलेगा ही नहीं. Here they are referring to any kind of a asset, correct? Purchase of these assets, still you will not get the credit. You are a mm, you are a big company, अंबानी. अंबानी है, अंबानी का एक प्राइवेट जेट है. इट इज अ एयरक्राफ्ट, दैट्स अ असेट, तो उसको मिलेगा. धनुष बोलिए, दैट इज एन असेट फॉर हिम. विल ही गेट द क्रेडिट फॉर दैट? ही इज यूजिंग इट ओनली फॉर बिजनेस ना. He will not get it. Oh my God. Even if I'm in the business of manufacturing motor vehicles, then also I won't get. You will get it then because you have a exception, Priya. Oh, Rajveer is saying that if you capitalize it, then you will get the credit. Hmm. So the next part is motor vehicles and vessels you won't get, except but you can claim ITC for further supply of such vehicles. You are a distributor. You are a showroom person who is buying cars. So you're not buying cars for your purpose. You're buying cars and selling. So if there is a further supply of such motor vehicles, then you can get the credit. Okay. So for further supply, you'll get the credit. Similarly, for the supply of aircraft, Boeing is a manufacturer, he will get the credit. All right. But Reliance will not get the credit because capitalization of asset is not mentioned in any of these exceptions. So if you are buying and selling, you're into the business of vehicles, aircrafts, or vessels, then you will get the credit, not others. Or you're into the transportation of passengers. A jet airways buys an aircraft and it is into the business of transportation of passengers, he will get the credit. Or he is into transportation of goods. A DTTC courier company buys a vehicle for shipment of goods, he will get the credit. Gatti Airways, Gatti Motors, who will buy motor vehicles and use it for movement of goods. A goods transport agency, they will get the credit. Others will not get credit. Or you're using it, you're a driving license school, जहाँ पे एल बोर्ड डालते हैं और वो लेडीज को ड्राइविंग सिखाते हैं, right? उनको क्रेडिट मिलेगा बिकॉज दे आर यूजिंग दैट व्हीकल फॉर ट्रेनिंग पर्पज. सो ओनली इन दीज फोर एक्सेप्शंस क्रेडिट मिलता है, बाकी केसेस में नहीं. क्लियर? Manufacturer will definitely get it because what he's manufacturing is the end product. There's no restriction in the raw material, so manufacturer will get the credit because he's using spare parts and other raw materials. He will get the credit on that. The restriction is on purchase of these products, not on manufacture of these products. So, a person who's purchasing, he will not get. So, only purchase, no. Apart from purchase, he will not get the credit. He said, okay, I will not take the credit on purchase, but can I get the credit on the repairs, on the insurance, what I'm paying, leasing or renting? So I'm not buying a car. I've told another person to buy the car. I've told my wife to buy the car and she's giving me leasing. Tax planning, no, India. So will I get the credit on that? No. Even then, you will not get the credit. So either direct purchase or leasing, in either case, you will not get the credit. Got it? You can still claim the credit on expenses of manufacture of motor vehicles. So manufacturer will get it if you are into these five export exceptions. And supplier of general insurance. A supplier of general insurance, he will take insurance from another company that he will get. Of motor vehicles also is blocked. So purchase is blocked, insurance is blocked, repair is blocked. Any तोड़ तो जुगाड़ करते हैं ना इंडिया में, सबके ऊपर क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा. मोटर व्हीकल पे नहीं है तो नहीं. Exception if it is used for output of same category and where it is obligatory. What is that exception saying? कि BPO centers है भैया यहाँ पे बैंगलोर में, रात में आप you have to take ladies स्टैट्यूटरी रिक्वायरमेंट है कि इफ यू आर वर्किंग इन अ बीपीओ, लेडीज को आपको कार पे रेंट पे देना ही पड़ेगा. मतलब उनके लिए नहीं, यू नीड टू हैव अ कैब फैसिलिटी. सो यू आर लीजिंग अ व्हीकल, देयर यू विल गेट द क्रेडिट बिकॉज द local laws making it as a statutory obligation. So where it is obligatory, वहां पे आपको क्रेडिट मिलेगा. वेयर इट इज नॉट ऑब्लिगेटरी, आप अपने मन से दे रहे हो, तो फिर क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा. ठीक है? मॉड्यूल आप मत देख के नहीं लीजिए, मैं जो समझा रहा हूँ आप उसे समझ लीजिए. इफ यू आर ट्राइंग टू, देखिए मॉड्यूल में जो पढ़ाना है तो फिर मैं मॉड्यूल ही बनाऊंगा कि प्रेजेंटेशन क्यों बना रहा हूँ इतना एफर्ट डाल के. करेक्ट? तो मॉड्यूल को नहीं पढ़ना, मॉड्यूल को समझाना मेरी है कि जो सेक्शंस दिए गए उसको समझाना है. फिर आप उसको पढ़ेंगे तो आप समझ में आएगा. लेकिन आप दोनों साथ में रखेंगे तो आप कंफ्यूज हो जाओगे. ठीक है? इंश्योरेंस में जो जिन कंपनीज इंश्योरेंस देती है उसे कहते हैं सप्लायर ऑफ जनरल इंश्योरेंस. Leasing from except same category, all are eligible. Correct. नेक्स्ट, आपने समझ लिया कि व्हीकल. नेक्स्ट है इन केस ऑफ सप्लाई ऑफ फूड एंड बेवरेजेस. एम्प्लॉयज को फूड दे दो, मेहमान आ गए ऑफिस में खाना नाश्ता चाय पानी मंगवा लिया, ये सब मेहमानगिरी हो गया है. जीएसटी में इसको मेहमानगिरी में उन्होंने क्रेडिट नहीं माना है. या फूड परचेज कर दो हॉस्पिटैलिटी के लिए, आपको क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा. Any food and beverages what you buy either for employees, either for staff, or either for any visitors is coming, with all of that credit is no. Some food and beverages credit is not available. Outdoor catering ठीक है, आपने बनाया नहीं, बाहर केटरिंग वाले से मंगवा दिया, स्टिल क्रेडिट इज नॉट गिवन. If you are buying Asta general insurance, on that you cannot claim the credit. But for a general insurance company, they will get the credit. Okay. My laptop will just go off. So once it goes off, we'll take a break from then for 10 minutes. Okay, we'll cover this slide till then. So food and beverages not allowed, outdoor catering not allowed, beauty treatment credit not available. अगर आप खुद का करवाते हो या किसी एम्प्लॉयज का करवाते हो, तब भी क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा. इफ रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन इज बाइंग फूड, हाँ हम रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन की तो बात कर रहे हैं इतनी देर से. रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन बाइंग फूड, देन ऑल्सो ही विल नॉट गेट द क्रेडिट. अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन को तो मिल ही नहीं रहा है. रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन भी अगर परचेज करेगा तो उसको क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा. होटल जा रहे हो आप, एम्प्लॉयज को मीटिंग कर रहे हो, स्टिल क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा. ब्यूटी ट्रीटमेंट, हेल्थ सर्विसेज, कॉस्मेटिक, ऑल ऑफ दिस इज ऑफ अ पर्सनल नेचर, नहीं मिलेगा. लास्ट एंड इंपॉर्टेंट वन इन दिस स्लाइड इज लाइफ इंश्योरेंस. लाइफ इंश्योरेंस, हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस के ऊपर भी आपको क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा. आप एक्सेप्ट देयर आर टू एक्सेप्शंस. व्हाट आर दोस एक्सेप्शंस? इफ सच सर्विसेज आर यूज्ड फॉर मेकिंग टैक्सेबल आउटवर्ड सप्लाईज ऑफ सेम कैटेगरी. मतलब लाइफ इंश्योरेंस कंपनी इज बाइंग इंश्योरेंस एंड ही इज गिविंग अ री इंश्योरेंस, उसको क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा बिकॉज ही इज इन टू द बिजनेस ऑफ इंश्योरेंस, right? And if it is statutory obligation, this two exceptions applies only to this, not for others. क्या बोलने को स्टैट्यूटरी ऑब्लिगेशन है, जैसे एक बॉलीवुड का एक्टर है, उसको तो ब्यूटी ट्रीटमेंट चाहिए तो उसको क्रेडिट मिलेगा नहीं. Yeah, so we were discussing on life insurance and health insurance, right? Before the break, yes. The exceptions are there only for life insurance and health insurance and not for others. For others, there is no exceptions. These exceptions are only for life and health insurance. Next, next category of block. All of this is block credit. All of this is there under 17.5 itself. 17.5 A, B, C, D. Various subclauses are there. I have not mentioned that, but all of this are part of section 17.5 itself. Next is membership of a club और healthcare और fitness center. तो इसके ऊपर भी कभी भी क्रेडिट आपको नहीं मिलेगा. Any membership you pay for the lot of companies now pay membership, club membership, because just salary people are not happy. They need something more. They need more perks. So all of these perks will be considered as the thing itself. So all of this will be a block credit. मेंबरशिप ऑफ अ क्लब और हेल्थ सेंटर और फिटनेस सेंटर, किसी के ऊपर आपको क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा. Sir, if a trader of motor vehicle is supplying smaller motor vehicle on a larger motor vehicle, okay, then will he be get the credit on the larger motor vehicle? Yes, because he's using that larger motor vehicle for transportation of goods, so he will get it, right? So any motor vehicle which you are using for transportation of goods, you will get it. So that larger motor vehicle which is using for transportation of smaller motor vehicle, he will get the credit of that. Travel benefits. So any travel benefits which is extended to employees on vacations such as leave or home travel concession. So some companies have to give leave or home travel concession on that. Any GST credit nahi milega, but if it is a statutory obligation of the employer to provide to the employees any of these leave or travel concession, then he will get the credit. So only exception is that if it is a statutory obligation. Agar statutory obligation nahi hai, to fir he will not get it. But if it is a statutory obligation, only then he will get the credit of it. But if supply of Section 17 items are done in mixed or composite supply, then can we avail the ITC? No, still you cannot get it, because like if it's a membership, after membership, you're getting food, right? So what is the principal supply? The principal supply is membership itself. So if membership is the principal supply, all the secondary supply, okay, will also be linked to the principal supply itself, right? So then you will still not get the credit. So what is the, if it's a composite supply, then what is the principal supply that will be considered? And if that principal supply is a block credit, then you will not get the credit. Next is works contract, very important. What is works contract is defined. Works contract, firstly, we'll understand the definition. Works contract means a contract for building, construction, fabrication, completion, erection, installation, fitting out, improvement, modification, repair, maintenance, renovation, alteration, and modification, repair, maintenance, renovation, alteration, or commissioning of any immobile property wherein transfer of property in goods is involved is a block credit. Okay. So all of this is a block credit. All works contract is a block credit. तो अगर आप कुछ भी कंस्ट्रक्शन करते हो बिल्डिंग जिसमें आप फैक्ट्री बनाओगे, तो उस बिल्डिंग कंस्ट्रक्शन के लिए भी आपको क्रेडिट नहीं. Fabrication, completion, erection, anything on that you will not get the credit. The exception is that if it is an in-house credit for further supply of works contract, if it's a builder, right? It's a builder. The builder is building it and he will use it for supplying of the construction buildings. Then he will get the credit. So that's why builders, developers, and contractors who are undertaking construction for others, they will get the credit because it is an input service for further supply of works contract services. Second exception is if the immovable property is plant and machinery. You're constructing a plant. What is plant and machinery? Any machinery which you are building up or equipment which you're building up, that is a plant. मतलब big machineries like oil rigs, oil storage के लिए storage tankers, all of that is plant, right? Then normal machinery and big plants wherein some manufacturing activity will happen there, that is plant. So such immovable property is plant and machinery. Then आपको क्रेडिट मिलेगा. जैसे एक मशीनरी है उसको आपको अर्थ के अंदर it should not move, so you have to make it a immovable property. Then it is available. So even though it is a works contract, still you will get the credit because it is primarily of the nature of plant and machinery. And third exception is ITC in respect of construction services, which is not capitalized. Whether for remote property or plant and machinery is allowed to all recipients. मतलब whatever works contract, if you are capitalizing, तो फिर credit नहीं मिलेगा. What you are not capitalizing, that is what things you will not capitalize, which is the repairs and maintenance, which is normal wear and tear, which is normal repair work, year on year AMC, whatever is the maintenance charges, that you will not capitalize. They are all expenses, you will get credit on that. But if you capitalize it, then you will not get the credit. So works contract services is all construction services. On that, you don't get the credit except these three. That is, if it is an input service or further supply of works contract. Second, if it is a plant and machinery. And third is if it is not capitalized. Like routine construction related services like repairs, maintenance, renovations, etc. On that, these three are the exception. Got it? आपने एक building, I gave you example of works contract, right? So if you're building a hotel, right? You're using a hotel and you're giving it for guests itself. So should you get that is the works contract service. So will you get credit of that construction service? You will not get. Third exception, चौहान तेज कि आप अगर कुछ वर्क्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करते हो जिसको आपने कैपिटलाइज कर दिया है, राइट, यू आर कैपिटलाइजिंग इट, तब आपको क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा. अगर आप कैपिटलाइज नहीं करते हो, आपके जो भी एक्सपेंस है, जो भी पेमेंट्स करते हो, आप दो कैटेगरी में डिवाइड करते हो. वन इज यूर एदर एक्सपेंसिव या फिर कैपिटलाइज करो. अगर आप एक्सपेंस करोगे तो इट्स अ नॉर्मल एक्सपेंस, उसके ऊपर आपको क्रेडिट मिलेगा. इफ यू आर कैपिटलाइजिंग इट, उसके ऊपर आपको क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा. दैट इज द थर्ड एक्सेप्शन. करेक्ट, यू विल नॉट गेट क्रेडिट इफ इट इज कैपिटलाइज्ड. GTA is taking on leasing of motor vehicles. Then it is no. No, he said no. In the vehicles case, if it is into the same business, then they can claim the credit. So GTA is using a leased motor vehicle for transportation of goods. And transportation of goods is one of the exception, transportation of goods and transportation of passengers, right? So transportation of goods is the exception. So he will get the credit. Got it. Next, what's the definition of plant and machinery? Plant and machinery is also defined under law. It means that any apparatus, equipment, and machinery which is fixed to the earth. So any equipment, any apparatus or machinery which is fixed to the earth by foundation or structural support that are used for making outward supply of goods or services or both, and includes such foundation and structural supports. So any structural support for what? For fixing up of a apparatus or a equipment or machinery is a plant and machinery, but it excludes land, building, or any other civil structures. It excludes telecommunication towers, and it excludes pipelines which is laid outside the factory premises. Okay. So land, building, and civil structure, telecommunication towers, and pipelines are excluded. Apart from that, everything is plant and machinery, which you are using it for the manufacturing activity. Sir, if motor vehicle more than 13 capacity, but for transportation of employee will be allowed, yes, because there the restriction is for a vehicle which is up to 13% seating capacity. More than 13 है, तो फिर आप personal के लिए use नहीं करोगे, so that is allowed. Very good question. Give example of general insurance provider but not blocked. Not blocked. Okay. So आप vehicle का है, मेरे पास vehicle है. I'm taking insurance from uh, IFCO Tokyo. IFCO Tokyo is an insurance company. Now, if I buy something from IFCO Tokyo, that vehicle insurance के ऊपर वो GST चार्ज करेंगे, वो ब्लॉक क्रेडिट है. लेकिन इफको टोक्यो के लिए दैट इज नॉट अ ब्लॉक क्रेडिट. इफ योर टोक्यो के पास इतना रिस्क कैपिटाइट नहीं है, तो वो एलआईसी के पास जाता है. एलआईसी डजंट गिव अ जनरल इंश्योरेंस, वो ओरिएंटल इंश्योरेंस के पास जाता है. ओरिएंटल इंश्योरेंस होता है इतनी गाड़ी मेरे पास है आई इंश्योरेंस के लिए, आई डू नॉट हैव द रिस्क कैपिटाइट, सो आई विल री इंश्योर विथ यू, सो दैट ओरिएंटल इंश्योरेंस विल चार्ज जीएसटी टू this IFCO Tokyo can claim the credit. Yeah. If a supplier is involved in business of construction selling, then he can claim the credit. Yes, then he can claim the credit. Clear? Now, this construction of immovable property, you have not involved a works contract. You said, okay, works contract, block that. So what I'll do is I'll not involve a works contract. I will construct it by myself. I will buy the materials. I will buy the steel. I buy the cement, and I will put a laborer and do it. Still, उसके ऊपर भी नहीं मिलेगा. So government knows all of these loopholes. We Indians are smart. We jugaad people. We will do something. If not directly, indirect, we'll do. The government was very smart and they said, जो indirectly नहीं मिलेगा, वो directly भी नहीं मिलेगा. If you are not getting credit on works contract, then you will not get credit on construction of your property on your own account also. Reinsurance supplies are नॉन करेक्ट ईशांत अभी कवर किया है, लेकिन पहले री इंश्योरेंस के ऊपर भी जीएसटी था, तो इसीलिए वहां पे उन्होंने बोल दिया कि एनी री इंश्योरेंस थिंग के ऊपर क्रेडिट ले सकते हैं, विच इज नाउ क्लैरिफाइड कि री इंश्योरेंस के ऊपर शेड्यूल 3 में आ गया है. ठीक है. So for this also, there are three exceptions: construction of your own new property, if it is construction of plant and machinery, ITC in respect of construction which is not capitalized, and when the construction is not on the own account. Yeah. Same like the exceptions which we had from both. The other, all of this is kind of miniature or the smaller block credits which are there. Inward supplies, which is charged to tax under composition scheme. So this we know when from beginning that on a composition scheme, supplier को composition scheme person cannot claim and he cannot charge GST. Even if he's charging GST, you cannot claim the credit on that. Inward supplies. Next one is inward supplies received by a non-resident taxable person. A non-resident person is who is not a resident of India is coming to India and doing business. उसको credit नहीं मिलेगा except whatever goods he is importing. Whatever goods he imports, on that he will not get the credit. So अब non-resident person के लिए local का credit नहीं मिलेगा. So you will not get the credit for whatever you are buying from India. You will get credit only of those goods which you have imported. Fine. Next, goods or services are both which is used for personal consumption. क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा. पर्सनल कंजम्पशन के लिए आप यूज कर रहे हो, क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा क्योंकि जीएसटी इज अ बिजनेस क्रेडिट. जो भी आप बिजनेस के लिए यूज करो उसका ही क्रेडिट देना चाहिए. आप अपने पर्सनल कंजम्पशन के लिए कुछ खरीदते हो उसका क्रेडिट हम नहीं देंगे. देन एनी लॉस्ट गुड्स, स्टोलन गुड्स और डिस्ट्रॉयड गुड्स, इट वाज नेचुरल बट स्टिल जो भी गुड्स गुम गए हैं, डिस्ट्रॉय हो गए, राइट ऑफ कर दिए, आपने गिफ्ट और फ्री सैंपल में दे दी है. This is very important. Which is disposed of by way of gift or free sample. On that also you don't get the credit. And any taxes paid in fraud cases, detention and confiscation, on that also you don't get the credit. Exception 3 is what is your question? I did not understand. Exception 3 means then works contract. No, exception 3 means any expenses. It could be which is for personal consumption. You have bought a laptop and using it for personal, तो उसके ऊपर जीएसटी आप बिजनेस में ले सकते हो नहीं, क्योंकि आप पर्सनल के लिए यूज कर रहे हो तो फिर उसके ऊपर क्रेडिट नहीं ले सकते. दैट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ पॉइंट नंबर 3. Exception 3 on construction of own account. Okay. Third exception there is when the construction is not on own account. That is on somebody else's account. You are doing the construction for somebody else. When you will do it when you are into the business of construction. That is the meaning of the third exception. When you're doing construction for not on own account but somebody else's account, then आपको credit मिलेगा. Not works contract. Works contract is separate. Construction of your property on somebody else's account, you will get the credit. So on the whole, ITC is not available on personal consumption. Correct. So if claim for business and then use for personal, so whatever you have used for business, then you're moving it for personal, so फिर आपको credit reverse करना पड़ेगा. Unless it is capital goods. Capital goods में you have the period saying that the capital goods will be there for 5 years. So whatever you use for business, you can use it. Then for personal, if you're transferring, you have to reverse for the balance. But if any non-capital goods is there, any raw materials is there, if you're using for business, then transfer to personal, so you have to reverse the credit. Because दिया था आपको business की use के लिए, आपने divert कर दिया है, then you will have to reverse the credit. Yeah. If a motor vehicle capacity more than 13 taken for a director more than 13 capacity वाला करेगा क्या इतना बड़ा? More than 13 capacity का vehicle कार नहीं होता है, correct? 13 capacity के ज्यादा वाला टेम्पो ट्रैवलर मिनी बस होता है. तो एक डायरेक्टर मिनी बस में ऑफिस आएगा क्या? But we cannot disclose that we use for personal. Correct. If you do not disclose, but there are ways to find it out, right? If the way we will not disclose that we have used for personal, that's right. But if there are ways which we can find out saying that you have used it for personal purposes, right? Then it will be disclosed. Like in your TDS deductions, in your employee salaries, you will disclose what is perquisites. Perquisites are for personal consumptions. राइट, उसमें ही पता चल जाएगा फ्रॉम योर ओन डिस्क्लोजर दैट यू हैव डिस्क्लोज दैट यू हैव गिवन परक्विजिट्स टू द एम्प्लॉइज, सो विच इज क्लियरली एविडेंट दैट दिस इज फॉर पर्सनल यूज, तो उसके ऊपर आपको क्रेडिट नहीं लेना चाहिए। इफ यू यूज इट फॉर फैमिली ट्रेवल्स, फिर भी गवर्नमेंट हैज said that पर्सनल ट्रेवल्स के लिए आप लेस देन 13 वाला ही लोगे, मोर देन 13 वाला यू विल नॉट यूज इट फॉर फैमिली। सो देयर इट सेज दैट इफ यू आर यूजिंग मोर देन 13 आपको क्रेडिट मिलेगा, बट इफ यू आर यूजिंग ओनली फॉर पर्सनल पर्पसेस देन दिस प्रोविजन विल ब्लॉक। If you buy phone for personal, ensure that for business. Very difficult to determine if it is for personal or for business. We are all kind of taking it that okay, we are purchased for business because you will use the phone both for business and personal. So such thin cases, identification will become problem. But if it is clear cut that it is for personal, then आपको credit नहीं लेना चाहिए. If you take a tempo traveler to make it as a camper van, then ठीक है, आपको credit तो मिलेगा. Because it says any motor vehicles having more than seating capacity above 30, up to 13 is blocked, above 13 is available. Purchase of aircrafts or vessels, ITC is not available, but for further sale available. Correct. Perfect. A lot of you have understood with your questions. I can see that yes, you have understood section very well. Example for that exception number 3 on construction loan account. I am a builder. I have bought materials for construction of a customer's account. Right. So it is not my own account. I have bought materials. I'm doing construction for somebody else's account. तो उस construction materials का मुझे credit मिलेगा. That is the example for the third exception for construction of portal. Now, this ITC and hands of supplier for sales promotion schemes. Okay, some more questions. When is the class getting over? 5 o'clock, madam. 2:30 to 5 is a class, right? You are confusing me. Stolen goods, but before you get stolen, we avail credit. Yes, because when the goods will get stolen, you don't know, right? You will avail the credit and then it's got stolen. So you will avail the credit once it got stolen, and you have to reverse the credit. Stolen, lost, destroyed, all of that you don't know when you have availed it. So you will avail it. Once that event happens, you will reverse it. Now, we said that when you, apart from lost, stolen, if you give it as free, a free sample also, you have to reverse it. But we said that ITC shall be available if the activity of distribution of gifts of these samples fall under the scope of supply under Schedule 1. Because in Schedule 1, we discussed that if you give any free samples or gift, then it is falling under Schedule 1. When, if it is a scheme related thing, if it is buy one, get one offer, then the value is the value of second product, because first product you're giving for a price, second one is free. So the government has said that there is no kind of buy one and get one offer, because practically buy one and get one ना वो आपको बुद्धू बना रहे हैं. जो buy one का प्राइस है उसी में second का भी included है. करेक्ट. सो इट्स लाइक अ मिक्स सप्लाई, तो उसके ऊपर आपको क्रेडिट रिवर्स करने की जरूरत नहीं. सो बाई वन गेट वन जब भी कुछ स्कीम देते हैं तब रिवर्स करने की जरूरत नहीं है. ओके. Then discounts including buy more, save more. Even in this case, supplier is entitled to avail the ITC because subject to reversal of ITC by the recipient and discount conditions. We have valuation rules वहाँ पे. When you have buy more, get more, I can give more and I can give a credit more. So that's why in these specific cases, you can still claim the credit. But secondary discounts, in case of secondary discounts, the discounts are not known. This we read in the valuation that for secondary discount, we don't get the benefit because secondary discounts are not satisfying the conditions for the discount. That's why on secondary discounts, they are not known. So for the secondary discounts, they do not reduce from the sale price and therefore ITC need not be reversed. But in case of other discounts, ITC has to be reversed. Clear? Uh, निधि जी यहाँ पे मैं समझा रहा था कि एक पॉइंट हमने 17.5 रेस्ट्रिक्शंस में देखा है कि इफ देयर इज एनी कि एक रेस्ट्रिक्शंस बताता है ये वाला पॉइंट गुड्स जो राइट ऑफ हो गए गुड्स जिसको आपने डिस्पोज कर दिया गिफ्ट और फ्री सैंपल उसके ऊपर आपको क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा क्योंकि आपने गिफ्ट में दे दिए ठीक है लेकिन फिर एक क्लैरिफिकेशन आया उसमें बताता है कि अगर आप गिफ्ट और फ्री सैंपल शेड्यूल 1 में दिखा दोगे राइट शेड्यूल में वो ट्रांजैक्शन है जो आप गिफ्ट और फ्री सैंपल्स एम्प्लॉयज को देते हो तो फिर रिलेटेड पार्टी है उसके ऊपर आपको टैक्स पे करना पड़ेगा अगर आप गिफ्ट और फ्री सैंपल को शेड्यूल 1 में दिखा के आप टैक्स पे करते हो तो फिर आपको उसका क्रेडिट मिल जाएगा लेकिन अगर वो शेड्यूल 1 के बाहर है जो मतलब आप जो सेल जो फ्री सैंपल्स के ऊपर टैक्स पे नहीं कर रहे हो तो फिर आपको क्रेडिट रिवर्सल करना ठीक सेकेंड है बाई वन गेट वन फ्री ऑफर जब भी बाई वन गेट वन फ्री होता है तब वो आपको दो बना रहे एक प्राइस में आपको दो दे रहे हैं तब भी आपको आईटीसी रिवर्स करने की जरूरत नहीं क्योंकि वो एक्चुअल में फ्री नहीं है ठीक है क्योंकि वो फ्री वो सिर्फ बाई वन गेट वन ऑफर है फ्री गिफ्ट है या फ्री सैंपल नहीं थर्ड है इफ यू हैव अगर आप डिस्काउंट देते हो बाई वन बाई मोर गेट मोर का आप डिस्काउंट देते हो और डिस्काउंट के कंडीशंस सैटिस्फाई करते हो कि आपने सेल करने के पहले ही बायर को बता दिया कि आपको इतना डिस्काउंट मिलेगा या आपके टारगेट रीच होने पर डिस्काउंट मिलेगा तो फिर आपको क्रेडिट रिवर्स करना पड़ेगा क्योंकि रिसीवर जो है वो उसको इतना कम बेनिफिट मिलेगा तो इसलिए उसको क्रेडिट रिवर्स करना पड़ेगा लेकिन सेकेंडरी डिस्काउंट मतलब जो रैंडम डिस्काउंट है उसके ऊपर सप्लायर का टैक्सेस कम नहीं होता है तो इसीलिए रिसीवर को क्रेडिट रिवर्स करने की जरूरत नहीं सिंपल लॉजिक है अगर सप्लायर अपने वैल्यूज अब कम टैक्स पे कर रहा है तो फिर रिसीवर को रिवर्स करना पड़ेगा लेकिन सप्लायर कुछ डिस्काउंट दे रहा है जिसका बेनिफिट वो नहीं ले सकता क्योंकि जीएसटी लॉ उसका बेनिफिट उसे नहीं देता है तब रिसीवर को क्रेडिट रिवर्स करने की जरूरत नहीं है अगर सप्लायर बेनिफिट लेता है तो रिसीवर को रिवर्स करना है अगर सप्लायर बेनिफिट नहीं लेता है तो रिसीवर को क्रेडिट रिवर्स करने की जरूरत नहीं है क्लियर है यहाँ तक fraud paid tax cases. Huh, so in case of fraud, okay, you have done a fraud and you have paid taxes because government has found out and you have done a fraud. So any taxes paid. So I have paid the taxes now. I have paid the taxes and I will collect from my customer. See, मैंने आपको बेचा था ये और वो पकड़ा गया हूं मैं अब गवर्नमेंट मुझसे टैक्स ले रहा है आप मुझे टैक्स देंगे ठीक है आप टैक्स दे दोगे लेकिन उसका क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा जो भी फ्रॉड केसेस में आप टैक्स पे कर रहे हो उसका आपको क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा need to reverse credit on buy one get one no you don't have to reverse on buy one get one because it is not a gift of sample Need reversal of credit is done when the supplier does not have benefit. Reversal of credit is done when the supplier does not have benefit. No, reversal of credit is done when the supplier has the benefit. It's in reverse. So reversal of credit is to be done by the receiver when the supplier has the benefit. The next step, ITC reversal on return of time expired medicines. Okay. तो जब expired medicines आते हैं तब क्या करना चाहिए? That is the question. Buy more, save more is like a post-supply discount. Its reversal of credit is to be done. Yeah, buy more, save more is so their discount, their reversal is to be done. Correct. So we have told where buy more, save more, where discount is allowed from the supplier, their reversal has to be done. You're right. Right. Now, with this background, what happens in terms of credit for a expired medicines? Return can be made by the retailer or wholesale. So there's a circular. This is not in the law. Based on the law, there was a question which was raised by pharmaceutical companies. आप medicine लेते हो, correct? Medicine expire होता है तो आप क्या करते हो? उसको फेंक देते हो, right? We can just throw it off because we have for less time. But the retailer, the distributor, there are various people who are involved. If they throw off the medicines, there will be a loss for because they have bought it to sell it. But unfortunately, the medicines were not sold on time. What happened? That such medicines got accumulated and the time for expiry had come and these medicines have expired. So what will happen for such expired medicines is the question. So here the government is saying that there are various people who are involved, right? The registered person, that is the retailer, or now this retailer can be a registered person, he can be a composition person or an unregistered person. So till here we will understand first because the retailer could be one of these, right? He could be a registered person. This is for a retailer. And this is for the manufacturer. That is different. So we'll see to this retailer. He could be a normal registered person. Yeah, he could be a composition person or a unregistered person. So if he's a registered person, now he has medicines. When he gives it back to the manufacturer, what he will do? He will he raise a credit note? No, because time limit is gone. 2 years back, he bought the medicine. Now it got medicine. What he got expired. So for him, he will have to raise a invoice because it is equivalent to selling the goods back to the original manufacturer. So he has to raise an invoice for the returns based on the original invoice received. So whatever was the original value is received, on that basis, he will return. So he will raise an invoice for the return based on the original invoice received. And to whom he will supply? He will supply to the wholesaler or the manufacturer. Once he gives this invoice to the wholesaler or manufacturer, for them, it is like normal buying of the goods, right? So they can claim the credit. He will not give it to the manufacturer directly because there are middlemen in between. There are wholesalers and manufacturers. So these wholesalers or manufacturers shall be eligible to avail the ITC because for them it is like a normal purchase. Clear? Then if this person, if this retailer He's not a registered person, he's a composition taxpayer. Then what happens? He will issue a bill of supply and pay the tax. And for composition supply, the wholesaler or manufacturer cannot claim the ITC. So they cannot claim the ITC. It's a loss for them because the the they cannot give any exception to composition taxpayer कि नहीं आप sale of medicines कर रहे हो तो credit मिल जाएगा ऐसा नहीं है. So composition taxpayer, he will also have to raise an invoice and he will not get the credit. So composition taxpayer के supply के ऊपर credit नहीं मिलेगा, right? Then third is if it's a unregistered person. If it's an unregistered person who तो already unregistered ही है, he will issue a invoice because any moment he have to give a invoice. Here he will not give a tax invoice because here यहाँ पे he is giving a tax invoice. यहाँ पे he give a commercial document without charging any tax. So when I sold goods to the unregistered retailer, I charge tax. वो उसका cost हो गया. Now he is not registered. He has give the back goods to me. Various category of people under retailer. Now manufacturer will buy it. Will he resell it? जेल में चला जाएगा. Expired goods cannot be sold. So he will have to destroy the goods through a medical council जो procedure बोलता है, there he has to recycle it or he has to destroy it. So he will destroy the medicines and he has to reverse the ITC because on any destroyed lost goods, we have to reverse the ITC. So this person, this manufacturer will have to reverse the ITC availed on return supply and ITC which is availed on manufacturer. So this person will have to reverse the credit. That is what the circular is talking about. So what is the time limit for issuance of credit note? Time limit for issuance of credit note is same by the 6 months from the end of the financial year. By 30th September, you can issue a credit note. Within the year or maximum 6 months after the end of the financial year. Clear? This is very clear. Next. Section 18. Credit in special circumstances. Section 16 and 17, we are happy that we have covered section 17 in this class. Section 18 is talking about credit in special circumstances. So what we'll do is, I don't want to touch section 18 because it will be very heavy for you all. What we'll do is, we'll not go through the provisions. We'll just understand and go to the provisions in the next session so that you're also relaxed and you're prepared for the next session. Any questions in section 17 and 18, we'll be happy to discuss that and then go to section 8. Anyone who wants to ask question or want to raise your hand, you can ask or to chat, anything is fine. Section 17.5 blocks the ITC. Perfect. Yes. Because section 17 will block the ITC. Correct. How to practice practical questions of sections. Correct. So what we have to do, Gokul, is we need to know the sections so that we are in that phase that we are understanding the provisions. And after this, what you have to do is you have to solve the practical questions. You have to work out the practical questions. By practice, you will learn how to clarify it. That's how you have to do. Go for practical questions. I can't teach you in class because in class, I have to teach you the concepts. I have to teach you the basic provisions. What is there in the provision? If you understand the provisions, then you will understand the practical aspects also. So our objective in this class, as we have discussed in the earlier session also, the objective is to understand the concepts of these sections. Once you learn, then you solve the questions. And if you have any questions during problem solving session or during the classes also, you can ask. So more effort from your side is required in terms of what kind of efforts you put in to learn your practical questions. How to practice practical questions? Okay, works contract for immobile property, please explain. Mohammed, any immobile property, works contract which is getting involved for immobile property, on that you cannot get the credit. Exception is, so what is works contract? Any construction, anything which involves goods and services put together, resulting in an immobile property. That is the meaning of works contract. Goods and service put together and resulting in an immobile property. Okay, that is works contract for immobile property. If both goods and services resulting in movable property, then it is normal. But if goods and services combined and the final output results in a immobile property, that is a works contract. तो उसके ऊपर क्या मिलेगा? Credit नहीं मिलेगा. So you're not getting credit on that. Exception is if you are into the business of works contract. Second is if you are using that works contract for plant and machinery. And third is if you're doing it for somebody else's account, then you will get the credit. So secondary discount means those discounts which you give at a later point of time, but you have not decided what will be the quantum or what will be the value of discounts. Randomly you decided. That is called a secondary discount. Third, explain section 18, unregistered person point. Unregistered person. Section 18 में कहा unregistered person. We have not got into section 18 yet, Soumya. We will go to section 18. That time you will understand it. Or you want me to explain? I can. So section 17.5 does all type of goods do not avail ITC. Whatever is there in section 75 on that only. I cannot tell that all types of goods do not avail ITC. Only section 17.5 items, those items which are there on that no ITC can be availed. Please explain clarification on page number 8.27. Okay, what is there in page number 8.27? There is no clarification on my sheet. Which version are you using? I don't see any clarification here. Right? Can demo vehicles be treated same for training? No. Training is different. Demo vehicles is different. Demo vehicles is there is no clarification on this. Demo vehicle, I think that is what this person is referring to. Demo vehicles. चौहान तेज प्रकाश कौन सा पॉइंट है आपका 8.27? Section 17, 8.27 to 8.28. Restriction on ITC regarding RCM supplies received from unregistered. I'll just show you my sheet. I'm not able to understand what are you guys seeing. .27 is restriction of ITC. Then point number 8 is ITC not allowed on certain supplies. Okay. And then you have a quiz time. And then 8.28 is apportionment of credit and block credit. This is May 2025 latest edition by. Okay. .25. Okay. Are you talking about this exception? Okay. So let me do one thing. Circular number 211. Fine. Just give me one moment. Okay. So they have updated the study material again. Okay. And then there is a clarification on time limit under 16.4. I've got the correct one. Here it is. Okay. So this clarification, right? 8.27 wala. Clarification on time limit under section 16.4 of the CGST Act in respect of RCM supply received from unregistered persons, right? It is clarified that in cases of supply received from unregistered suppliers, where tax has to be paid by the recipient under reverse charge mechanism, and where invoice is to be issued by the recipient of the supplies in accordance with section 31(3)(f), right? So when you are buying from an unregistered person, you have to raise a self invoice. The relevant financial year for calculation of time limit for availment of input tax credit under the provisions of 16.4 will be the financial year in which the invoice has been issued by the recipient, subject to payment of tax of the said supply by the recipient and fulfillment of other conditions and restrictions of section 1617 of the CGST Act. In case the recipient issues the invoice after the time of supply of the said supply and pays up taxes accordingly, he will be required to pay interest on such delayed payment of taxes. Further, in case of such delayed issuance of invoice by the recipient, he may also be liable to a penal action. So what this circular is saying is, भाई आपको reverse charge pay करना है, correct? Now invoice is raised in 1st January 2025. तो आपको reverse charge pay करना है. You will pay reverse charge in the month of January because invoice आपको January में मिला है, right? You have received the invoice in January. Now, what is this section saying is, according to section 31(3)(f), you can avail the credit once you raise a self invoice. Now, you will raise an invoice in January, you will claim the credit in January. Now, you have an old RCM invoice of 2024. Can you claim credit in January invoice, RCM invoice? You have got an invoice from a lawyer on which you have to pay RCM. That invoice was from the supplier. Okay. In case of supply received from unregistered person. So that lawyer is unregistered. He is not a registered lawyer. He's not registered under GST because he's not supposed to. But he's provided you the service in January 2024. When are you supposed to raise a invoice? That is the question. When is the date you have to raise the invoice? Yeah, I have shared the screen, Priyanka. right? So according to you, so when there is a RCM supply from an unregistered person, there is no time limit. Invoice is to be issued by the recipient in accordance with section 31(3). Okay. There is no such time limit. So the time limit, so within 30th November 2025, you can claim the credit. That is what this clarification is saying. Very important clarification. Got it? So रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म में अगर सप्लायर अनरजिस्टर्ड है तो आप उसके कितने भी पुराना क्रेडिट हो उसका क्रेडिट आप ले सकते हो बट इट सेज दैट यू मे हैव टू पे इंटरेस्ट की तब से तब आपको रेस करना चाहिए था लेकिन आज आपने रेस किया है you may be required to pay interest and you may be liable for penalty under section 122 which is not covered in your syllabus but you may be should be aware of it कि for delay interest और penalty लग सकता है clear that is the first clarification. Second is there is new provision under section 16 which is section 16(6) wherein in case his registration of a taxpayer is cancelled and subsequently it is revoked, then the return for the period from the date of cancellation or the effective date of cancellation till the date of revocation of cancellation cannot be filed on the portal. So what will happen in such cases where the recipient has not claimed the ITC in respect of the invoices pertaining to that financial year, then the time limit stipulated in 16(4) will lapse. He would not be able to claim. So consequently, a relaxation has been given and time limit to avail ITC under section 16(4) in respect of invoice or debit note is extended till the date of filing return in case where the returns for the period from the date of cancellation till the date of revocation are filed within 30 days. आपने cancellation के आप किया, now you have applied for revocation. It is taking time. So between the time of cancellation and revocation, whatever invoices are there, earlier you could not have claimed the credit. Now with this section 16(6), with this section 16(6), you can claim the credit. That is what this provision is saying that you can claim the credit. When provided from the date of revocation of cancellation, you file the return within 30 days तो आपको credit मिल जाएगा. Since there is no time, recipient can issue at the any time and claim ITC as per 16(4) from the date of filing. That is what is the first clarification, Vishal. Clear here? Any more doubts? I think I answered all the queries which has been raised. Yes. See, screen is visible. I've shared the presentation. Shared the presentation. Let me stop and yes. Now it is stopped. Okay. Yes. One more. Now it's fine, sir. Uh, Fine. So, so in section 18, what is happening is what happens to the credit. We know when we do any exempt supply, we don't get credit. When we do any composite supply, we don't get credit. When we are unregistered, we don't get credit. But if we shift because your business keeps developing, right? You are unregistered today, tomorrow you get registered. Today your goods are exempted. Tomorrow it will become taxable. You are under composition. You have crossed the limit of composition. So you have come to a normal taxpayer. So in that situation, what happens? That is what is covered in section 18. Sure. Okay. So since section 18 is discussing that, we will discuss 18 in the next session. We are just giving a brief. So I'll just switch on the video. I'll stop sharing. So then that will be better. So what we'll be discussing in section 18 is that what happens if you're moving from you're unregistered, now you're getting registered. What happens in that case? If you are registered voluntarily, you're not supposed to register. So will you get credit of your stock? That is what is discussed in section 18. And then if you are moving from composition to regular, what happens? So think over this so that when we discuss next session, you will have some clarity and saying, okay, what should be done? Ishan Bhatt's clarification, page 8.40. Sure, we will discuss this in the next session. So we have discussed lot of clarifications, and we have covered 8 point section 17 as well. So all these clarifications in the next session, before the start of session, please remind us again. So we'll take up 8.40, 8.48 first, and then proceed further. Okay. Fine then. So we'll wind up the class for today. And there've been a lot of apologies. There've been a lot of technical glitches. They're not able to get the visibility on terms of internet and things. So we will continue in the next session. Thank you very much. Yes.